Here are the grad school interview questions you must be ready for. If you can answer these questions clearly and confidently, you'll crush any grad school interview. I've gathered these from mentors, admissions panels, and of course my own experience as a PhD student. And I'm going to give you the framework for answering each one of these questions. What are they actually looking for behind each question? I'm RKPhD, a PhD graduate student at Baylor College of Medicine, studying computational biology, here to help you demystify research. Let's get into the first question. The most important question that they're going to ask you, at least I think it's the most important question. It sets the tone for the rest of the interview. Tell me about yourself. I want you to immediately think Ebenezer Scrooge, bah humbug. He visits Christmas past, present, and future. That's exactly the same thing you want to do with tell me about yourself. Tell them about your past, present, and future. What shaped you, what drives you now, and where you're going. You want to be able to tell your story, a common thread from beginning, middle, and end, sharing all your experiences throughout your life and what led you to here, why you even want to be here. I would recommend aiming for about 2 minutes telling your story. As you tell your story, think about what are the qualities that you are conveying as you tell from beginning, middle, and end. If this were someone learning about this story for the first time, what are the qualities they're going to take away? Ideally, I would recommend showing resilience and initiative. These are really important qualities in a grad student. Of course, there's several other important qualities, but right off the bat, showing that you have some sense of grit and that you're someone that is willing to take the lead on something, I think is really important and really great to just show off from the start. So as you tell your story, how have you handled some sort of challenge throughout your life, and how did you overcome that as you tell your story? On to the next question. Tell me about your research. Very basic. This can get very technical. It depends on the person that is interviewing you. Out of all my interviews, I really only had one person at one of the institutes get really into the nitty-gritty of it all, and I know I could have used some more preparation work. So I would definitely say you don't have to stress too much about it, but be prepared to get really into the weeds about it. Be ready for the worst case scenario, but don't let this overly stress you out for the rest of your interviews. You want to enjoy the overall process as well. Learn about the school, learn who you might be potentially be working with for the next 4 to 8 years of your grad school life. Too many times I noticed the fear of getting into that technical part of the interviews ruin the confidence of people during interviews, or they became so like exhausted or mentally like overthinking the entire interview weekend just because of being overly scared of getting into the actual technical nitty gritty of it all. So yes, be prepared, put in some time and energy, review your own specific research questions, but don't let it overly consume you either. Just do your best, and that's all you can do. Are you able to explain your project, talking about what you did, what you learned, and why it mattered? Why was your research important? How does it relate to the field in some manner? Just showing those 3 questions that you actually understand the relevance of your own research, I think will put you in a really great position. Show that you know what you know, but also show confidently you know what you don't know, and be willing to say, I don't know yet. Don't just end it as, I don't really know. Yeah, whatever. Be willing to go ahead and say, that's a really great question. I'll write that down and look into that. Something where you show that you're confidently not sure of a specific area, but you're willing to know more if you must. As you talk about your research, as you think about your research and prepare before the actual interview, make sure you're also thinking about how you overcame some sort of technical gap, or how did you pick up a new skill set? Because that leads us into our next question. How do you handle failure? This is going to show that you're coachable, that you're actually someone who wants to learn. So have a real life example in your back pocket. Be ready to really talk about it in terms of just focusing on what actually went wrong, but then more importantly, what you learn from that failure, how you actually used it to your advantage. I think of the actor Michael Caine when he says, use the difficulty. In other words, whatever obstacle you are facing, how can you find a way to use that to your own benefit? If even by 1%, that's great. Be able to really talk about that. Again, be able to talk about what was the obstacle, difficulty that you were actually facing, but then also, how did you use that to your advantage? How did you learn? What was your takeaway from then having faced that obstacle? Did it change your approach? Did it change your research, collaboration, your scientific thinking? How did you actually incorporate that into the post-assessment after the failure? Next question, why do you want to join this program or lab or what have you, department? This is going to show that you're actually serious about them, that you've actually taken some time to just go ahead and learn more about them. Be willing to mention either a specific name, method, paper, something that drew you to that specific program. Again, they just want to see that you've actually put in some outside time into their program, that you have some sort of investment and interest into their program. Make it obvious that there's a strong match between your goals and their strengths. By the way, a quick bonus question before we get into our next question. Ask a question that shows some sort of deep curiosity about their work or about their specific program. I found asking something along the lines of what opportunities and resources are there in your specific city outside of the graduate program. Why? This just shows that you're actually thinking about not just the graduate program itself, but you're showing that you're really thinking about the next 4 to 8 years, your lifestyle and your fit at that institute's location. So it shows that you're thinking beyond the PhD and the grad program. You're really thinking about a life there. So showing that you're thinking about opportunities outside in that area shows you're really considering this program. Another really good question is, what qualities do your most successful students tend to share, and how do you see the program helping them develop those qualities? This is just going to show your willingness to really learn from them, not just check off some sort of box. Either way, make sure you have a question in your back pocket as well, in terms of a question that's going to show that you have deep curiosity for that program, for their work, for them. It's a simple yet subtle way to show you're deeply interested. Next question, what are your goals after grad school? What is your vision after you actually get your PhD and you walk across the stage? They don't want a full 20-year plan of your life and career, but just show that you have some sort of inkling in terms of you've thought about some form of a vision of what you want to do with your PhD and afterwards. So like, why are you getting your PhD and what do you hope to do with it after you've earned it? And show that you have some small vision. Doesn't matter what you want to do. If you want to go into academia, biotech, data science, policy, startup, there's so many different things you can do with your PhD. So just showing that you've put in some time, some thought into what you would actually enjoy doing after your PhD really sells you well. You want to show that you're being intentional with your PhD while you go and learn, not just going into a PhD because I feel like the next natural step. No, like, be intentional about why you want to go and commit the next 4 to 8 years of your life earning this PhD. The grad school interview questions you must be ready for. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your research. Why this specific program or lab? How do you handle failure? And what are your goals after grad school? If you can answer these questions clearly and confidently, you'll crush your grad school interviews. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for your time.